Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Grit, Give, Recognize, Implement Time podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Nathanson, CEO and founder of Strive for More. And today I want to talk about a subject that's been at the top of mind for a lot of the clients that I've been working with. And that is, how do I deal with poor managers? And that's a great question for us organizationally as well. When we look at employee performance, is it truly the employee or is it the manager? And it's a great conversation to have because a lot of times we put more emphasis on it's the employee and they need to shape up, they need to get better, they need to adjust how they're working, and they need to rise to the level of expectation. Sometimes, and more often than not, unfortunately, we don't look at what's the cause of that. Is it the manager? And that's the question we're going to tackle today. And that's the first key to actually looking at this is when we look at employees across the board and conflict that happens in organizations, we also have to look at, is it the manager? What's driving that? And that's something that's not done all that often because there's a lot of truth to this statement. People quit people. And when we look at the cost of turnover, the cost of disengagement, those two numbers, they're 33 and 34% of an annual salary. That's the estimate for how much a disengaged employee is costing us and how much turnover costs us. It's between those two figures. That's a lot of money, especially when you say have $100,000 of an employee, even $70,000, even $50,000. When we talk about the salaries and the actual financial impact, it becomes critical to explore what's that root cause. Because if I'm constantly losing people in a specific business unit under a specific manager, there may be a common thread there. So that's the very first key to dealing with poor managers is understanding, is it truly the employee or is it truly the manager? When we explore this, it's important to not single out individual employees. It's important to understand the totality of the conflict that's existing. It should be an objective exploration. A lot of times in organizations, we put emphasis on what the leaders say or the managers say. And that's very true for, say, skip level or additional levels up the chain, because all they're getting is what the manager is saying and feeding to them. They don't necessarily have day-to-day interactions with the employee in question. We don't have firsthand knowledge, if you will. What we're getting is hearsay. It's secondhand information, things that are relayed to us, but we don't have physical eye witness around. So this is another key for us to explore when we talk about poor managers. What is truly going on? What has been told to me by sources? What have I actually seen? And am I giving equal opportunity to all sides to truly and objectively explore and understand what is going on? When we fail to do this, we disengage good employees, we lose people, and we create a cascading waterfall effect that we've seen throughout this great resignation, where people are quitting people. We put more work on the people who are remaining, and then we burn them out even more so than where they are currently, and they end up leaving. So it's very imperative for us to explore this topic because it can have drastic financial costs on our organizations if we fail to do this. So as we look at the remedies for this, I'll repeat kind of the first steps is looking at managers in addition to employees, understanding the totality of it and objectively exploring what's going on to be able to target pinpointedly, is there something that's truly going on with an employee? And we do need to put them on a performance improvement plan and help them along and give them that opportunity to grow and develop into where we expect them to be. Or is it on the managerial side? Have they actually clearly outlined their expectations? some of the most common things in organizations that are not expressed but are believed to have been expressed are roles, responsibilities, and expectations. I do see this time and time again. We may think we've clearly expressed what we expect of other people and the level at which we want them to perform, but they may have no idea. They may not have clearly understood what's been explained. It may not be even written down. Or we may presume because they're at a certain level in their career, they should meet certain expectations. In that case, have we actually conveyed what's expected to them? Have we shared that with them? These are the good kind of questions that can start breaking apart. Where's that true disconnect? Because if as a leader, I say someone's got 5 years of experience, here's the level that I expect them to be, but this is an internal dialogue that I'm having with myself, and I never convey that to somebody and they're falling short of it, who's that on? We like to put that on the employee, but in reality, that's on me as the leader for failing to clearly express what is actually expected and how someone can meet that. So as we look objectively at all parties, we can then pinpoint where these development opportunities truly land. Now let's break open a more aggressive scenario. A lot of times we can face abrasive, belittling leaders. And this is an extreme case, but this has happened in industry. CEO of Uber, the prior one, great example of this. What kind of culture are they creating? And what's that impact? Again, we talked about financial cost and impact of disengaging and losing employees. And if you have constant turnover and loss of that, say, tribal knowledge, that impact is going to be even greater. So as we look at poor managers, what is that benefit to rectify? Because if I can, as an organization, lose one manager, but save 10 employees, I'm going to come out on top. So in this extreme scenario, we have to look at that cultural impact that leader and manager is having as well. Because that single person can impact not only, say, 10 people, if that's the size of their team, but also on the same level and their peers. So that's another factor that does come into play when we talk about dealing with poor managers. What is the totality of their impact on the organization? Is it positive and uplifting? Is it negative and draining? Throughout our careers, we have all likely experienced working with an individual that drains energy from people, that brings us down. And this really leads us to one of these critical components that I think is very important for organizations, which is quick to fire, slow to hire. And I don't mean that we have to instantaneously let people go, but if we're facing a scenario of this nature, where we have someone who is a true detrimental impact at a leader and managerial level in our organization, that one individual, if we objectively look at what's going on and see that they're causing this downward spiral and this drain of energy, that recognition and taking action on it sooner rather than later is going to have such a great impact on your organization and bring it up, alleviate that stress and that tension that exists from one person. That will help you get to where you want to go in the future and continue to grow and develop the employees that want to be a part of that culture. So that's what I mean by quick to fire. When we hire folks, we not only should look at the qualities of what they can do in terms of roles and responsibilities, but do they fit the culture of our organization and the leadership style, the management style that we want to employ, that we hold true to? These questions can help us over a slow hiring process, vet that out to be able to ensure we're going to avoid this kind of scenario. So I'll recap very briefly. When we talk about poor managers, the first thing we need to understand is, where does the issue truly lie? Is it with employees or is it with managers? And what's at the heart of that? Is it a lack of, say, vision and clear direction? Am I not giving my folks what they need to go forth and prosper? Have I perhaps not shared my expectations of what I want them to meet? Am I belittling them? Am I aggressive and yelling at them? Am I, unprofessional? These are all things to understand about the manager as well as the employee, to see what that totality and the circumstances are. Because there, again, is a lot of truth to people quit people. So once we've identified what's truly at the heart of our poor manager, we can then implement a development strategy to help them grow. Education, coaching, or if it's extreme, the last thing we were talking about, which is quick to fire and slow to hire. Managers are not immune to being put on performance improvement plans, nor should they be, because they have a large looming impact, not only in those that they lead, but the people at the peer level and even upwards for their leaders as well. So as we explore how to deal with poor managers, those are the critical keys. Truly look at the managers themselves, not just at the employees, understand the totality of the circumstances, the heart at the root cause of the issues that we're seeing, understanding what development opportunities are available to us, and if it's worth it, because it may not be. And that's when that last point again comes into play. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm here for any questions that you may have. And one thing that I'll leave you with is, as we are going through the Great Resignation, more now than ever is this imperative, because people do quit people. And I've worked with a lot of clients who've got conflicts with their managers and are not feeling like they're given a fair shake. And there are two sides to every story, which is very true. And that objective exploration helps us understand, for both our employees and our managers, where the true issue lies, and then be able to take the right appropriate action for it. So until the next time, be the movement in your life.